In 2019, advocates tracked at least 27 deaths of transgender or gender non-conforming people in the U.S. due to fatal violence, the majority of whom were Black transgender women. Yet, out of all those deaths, how many did you hear about? What actions are we taking to protect them? We interviewed a trans advocate and they spoke on their experiences, struggles, views, wishes as a transgender woman in a world influenced by media.
Cis people who claim to be allies try to take that forefront of being like, this needs to happen and that needs to happen when no one's really asking trans women what they want. Like, I feel like a lot of the time we could be the center of conversation, but we're dismissed. Like, we're not really like, be like, what do you think? Like, it's usually just like, we know this is bad and we need to help them, but no one is asking us how to help.
We also interviewed a media educator who spoke on representation on media and the importance of it.
I think when groups of people are stereotyped in media, it's problematic because those messages are being received and are teaching people, right? They're reinforcing ideas and values about people. And so when we see the same stereotypes over and over again of any group of people, it reinforces these ideas that that just aren't accurate. It makes people a caricature.
Media for a long time has done trans women horribly. Like, you can go to the very first, like the Scary Movie franchise, and they had the coach that was supposed to be a trans woman and a predator. Like, you try to paint a trans woman as a predator. And you could think about it in a way as if when people first came out with Birth of a Nation and painted a Black man as a predator. Like, you representing people in such a negative light that, that's not who they are. That's not the course base of who they are. Like, being a predator, and that's sick to be compared to something like that.
Media matters. I think media plays a really big role in the way that we see ourselves and we see each other. And so if we only see certain types of representations, it's a problem.
It shouldn't be like you have to go out and find that history, like, that you're searching for and see yourself inside of, because I didn't know, like, until, like, I was, like, 15 about, like, Marsha, and I didn't know, like, any of this stuff that I knew until, like, I was, like, 15, which I feel like is sad, personally, because I feel like, well, if I knew this when I was, like, 10, knew this when I was, like, 9 or 8, I would have felt very, very happy, like, to see myself in that kind of history. And I think a lot of cis like, people don't understand how important it is to see yourself in history, because they always see themselves in history. So it's nothing to them. But for someone like me, it's very, very, very important.
A lot of Black people are talking about Black liberation. Well, we can't talk about Black liberation if we're not talking about Black trans women and Black trans people. They're part of this movement. So if you don't care about your trans brothers and sisters, then you don't really care about Black liberation.
On June 13, 2020, the Say Her Name protest was led in response to the recent deaths of Breonna Taylor and Philly native Remy Fells, who was tragically murdered this month.
And I feel like it'd be very important to include queer people, or to include the fact that people work queer inside a lot of these history courses, so that people can see themselves in history. Like, like, a lot of people keep saying, like, oh, this trans stuff and this gay stuff just came up. Like, it's been around for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. But it's the history that we learned over the years where it's like, it's cis, it's white, and it's heterosexual. And, like, if you're Black, it was, cis het too for a second, and, like, the woman and the men, and that was it.
I think we need to see stories of trans women about their lives, not just about their deaths. So often when we hear about trans women in the news or in the media, it's because of violence. And what about all the stories? What about the opinions? What about the concerns, the dreams, the victories, the nuances, the challenges? What about all of those things? Why are we not seeing that in the news?
A lot of people try to tell me my whole entire life, I couldn't do this, like, you shouldn't have long hair, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't dress like this. And every single thing that they told me not to do, I did do. and it made me the person I am today, and I'm sickening. Like, I just would like to tell my younger self, like, don't let anybody tell you to like stop doing what you love to do, because it's going to make you the person who you are today.
The Attic creates opportunities for the LGBT youth to develop into healthy, independent, civil-minded adults with a safe and supportive community, and promotes the acceptance of the LGBT youth in society. Take this information into account. Do what you can. Do not disregard.